Ladies and gentlemen, the following is another fantastic episode of the Wrestling Fans Podcast, Ringside Society. In one corner, we have the greatest thing on God's green earth. No, we're not talking about money, Mary Jane, or Popeye Spinach. He is the tranquil dart of Ringside Society, Delaware's greatest American hero. And whenever he goes to Taco Bell, he asks for a chief burrito because he loves the combination of chicken and beef. It takes two to make a thing go right. He's Rob Bass, and you are not. And in the second corner, we have that ocean crossing, straight up Boston, flight catching, shot glass snatching. Where's he going next? Nobody knows. 3 continents down, 3 more to go. No cap, straight facts, the worldwide star boy, Remy Blue. But it's not about us tonight. You see, we have a special guest who is not only a fellow podcaster. No. He also wears a second hat. He is also a commentator for CCW, Capital Championship Wrestling. That's right, owned by our good friend, Marcello. Everybody, welcome to the show, Michael Larkin.
Oh, my goodness. Woo! Thank you so much. Love that intro, man. Love that. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
No problem, man. Michael, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. You know what I'm saying, man? It is a Tuesday night, and I'm here to talk here on the Ringside Society. So I can't beat it. It's a good night. It's a good night.
Awesome. It's great to have you on, man. You know, we know we talked about, about you being on the show. And like I said, we didn't forget about you, man, but it's like so many people, so little time. You know, like I said, if I ever were to, take like a nice month or 2 off work, I guarantee you I could probably fill all those dates with people. That's how many, and still have people left over to have on the show. That's how crazy it is with us right now. But they say, quality over quantity, so don't want to give them everything at once,
Of course. And I mean, scheduling happens, guys. And the main thing is we're doing it here and in the now. So it's a pleasure. I can't say thank you enough.
Yeah. So I just got to say, man, I always ask, most of our guests that we have on the show, how did it start for you? How did your fandom for wrestling start?
Ooh, so I kind of got into it late in the game. I mean, of course, I've known about the greats like the Austins, the Rocks, the Undertakers, the Hogans, and many of great professional wrestling talents. My first memory of professional wrestling, really getting into it, was in 2002. Like, my first ever wrestling show that I attended was actually the night that Eric Bischoff became the Raw general manager from the Continental Airlines Arena at the time in New Jersey. And my first ever pay-per-view event was SummerSlam, but one of the early memories for me, I'm a big Jeff Hardy fan. Jeff Hardy and the Undertaker for the Undisputed Championship on that amazing Raw with the ladder match. So many great memories and so many great moments from that. But that's kind of where it started for me in the summer of 2002. And now here we are, summer 2023. So about 21 years of watching the great craft that is professional wrestling.
Wow, that's awesome. I would never forget that Undertaker Jeff Hardy match. That was when Undertaker was running around and he actually became a heel. Well, actually, no, he became a heel for the 3rd time, and he was running around talking about everybody owes me respect. And lo and behold, he ended up giving Jeff Hardy his respect because although he beat Jeff Hardy in that ladder match, Jeff Hardy was like, "Is that all you got? Come back." And Undertaker just walked up, picked him up, raised his hand, and just looked at him like, "Dude, you are crazy, but hey, go off." And then he walked out of the ring. I'll never forget that. That was a pretty interesting era, the ruthless aggression era. Man, I'll never forget it.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, it's the little subtleties, intricacies, and everything that goes into it, and the nuances from professional wrestling. Like you mentioned, the climb the ladder kid, make yourself famous. Undertaker, look at him like he's a tough SOB. It's that storytelling, and mind you, it was only like a few weeks that I had. It was a very mini program, but god dang it, man, it took up a lot, and a lot of people still talk about it to this day.
Yeah, that was I think, honestly speaking, I think that night proved that Jeff Hardy had the it factor to become a champion. He had the it factor to go out on his own and make something of himself as a singles wrestler. And I'll even say this, Matt Hardy too. Matt Hardy, people may have their own opinions about Matt Hardy. Recently we heard that he got into a spat with Jim Cornette, and people were saying, "Matt, you're no legend." One thing I will argue to the death of me is, I'll say this, Matt Hardy, Jeff is great, don't get me wrong, but Matt, there is more depth with Matt. And I always thought that he could have gone just as far as Jeff if he was given the chance. And I think that chance should have been given when Edge and him had that feud with Lita and whatnot. I think that was when Matt Hardy's career should have really taken off and put him to the top. But unfortunately, you had Undertaker still in the game. You had Batista, you had John Cena. But yeah, that night Jeff definitely showed that Jeff could actually go on his own. Not digress, but that night definitely showed that Jeff had what it takes to be a solo star.
Oh, of course, man. I mean, you look at that time period right after that, he won the European Championship. And like you mentioned with Matt, the version 1 character was probably some of the most entertaining doggone segments, especially going for the Cruiserweight Championship at the time. And like you mentioned, 05, the Matt Hardy Edge Lita feud based off of what we saw in real life. I mean, Matt has always had it. And I mean, he's evolved himself with the broken character, the woken character, what have you. He's another one that really ranks up there. And yes, like you mentioned, the Jim Cornette spat that we all saw on Twitter. I mean, that's what you get with Jim Cornette, and that's what you get with a lot of what he does. And mind you, you may not like what he has to say, but you got to respect the work that he put in as a manager and what he's done for the business. So, I mean, it was shocked to see it, no, but I mean, it's Jim Cornette. So what do you expect, right?
My thing is this. The reason why I'm so tolerable of Jim Cornette, Rob, I know you've seen this, and I'm sure you've seen this, Michael. Every generation before, the generation that precedes your generation is always going to think, hey, you guys are doing things unorthodox and it's not going to work and whatnot. Before Jim Cornette, I'm sure classy Freddie Blassie would have looked at him and be like, who is this jabroni with a racket? You're not going to get far. You look like a Poindexter. Like, what, did your mom like dress you today or what? And before Freddie Blassie, I'm pretty sure there was a manager before him that was saying, who in the hell is this guy with the glasses and the turban? Or are you trying something new? You might want to put that back. It's not working. So that's what I see when I see Jim Cornette. It's like there's always going to be somebody from the generation before that's going to have something to say. I'm sure right now somebody was looking at Hulk Hogan and was like, this is the next superstar? Man, Bruno Sammartino would have tapped this guy out in 10 seconds. Who is this kid? What's this?
Right.
I mean, he's ripping a good, who rips a good t-shirt? Get this guy out of here. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like classy Freddie Blassie with the pencil neck geeks. I'm sure he thought a lot of people were pencil neck geeks. And like you mentioned with Hulk Hogan, look at Vern Gagne. Vern Gagne didn't think he would be who he was. And I mean, you also had, stuff with like, you look at Ole Anderson, not thinking much about Ric Flair, not thinking much about The Undertaker, when he was Mean Mark Callis in WCW. And look where Mean Mark Callis went on to be. So, I mean, there's always going to be people in their mouths, right? Yep.
Don't get me started with WCW. I'm sure they're kicking their own asses right now. Right. With the amount of people they let through, oh man, I would be hot. It just goes. You see, that's why I tell you, it just goes to show you got to take your time with people, and that's why, I'm not trying to make it about us, but I'm just gonna do it for just briefly. That's why you always got to treat people with respect, give them a chance, and just wait. And that's what we do here at Ringside Society. We don't care if you're a big star or not. We don't care if you make it to AEW or WWE. We don't care if you make it to the big leagues. The fact that you go into that ring and you put on a show for us, or you help put on a show for us, we want to talk to you. And it's actually paid off, not as much, but in a few. We've seen people go on to get signed by WWE and get signed by AEW and go on tours to Japan. We even had a young lady yesterday. I don't know if you caught that show yesterday. We had the Dragon of Malice, Jasmine Howe. I said, hey, July 7th, I give you 2 years. You say you want to go to Japan. I the way you're going, I'll give you 2 years before you make it. July 17th. And I want y'all to remember that. Those of y'all watching, July 17th, 2025. Before that date, she's going to make it to Japan. Just watch her, And, you just never know where somebody's going to be. And, when I heard about Mark Calloway, somebody told Mark Calloway he's not gonna sell out crowds. I'm like, wow, that's that was something. That was definitely something.
It absolutely is. And I mean, you mentioned just a great point here, Remy. I mean, you look at what we do with podcasting, especially like you mentioned, like 2 years to Japan. I mean, you're kind of manifesting that into the universe. But I think if someone, and I'm very much about this too, giving people the platform to tell their stories, it's so important here because even if you're getting into professional wrestling, there's so much that goes into it, the sacrifice, the travel, what have you. I mean, you got to give them a lot of praise, and it's a lot of guts to get into it. I mean, you and all three of us here on this forum here respect the craft. We love it. But it's like, God dang it, man, it doesn't matter how long you've been in there. If you're putting in the work and you're doing it, I know some people will crap on like a Logan Paul because Logan Paul is very much braggadocious, but God dang it, man, he puts in that work, and you could tell he puts in that work. And the same goes with Bad Bunny in such a short period of time. They're here. So, I mean, it could happen. Really think it's the old AIP montage. If anything is possible, that's the mentality you have to have.
With that, I always say this, because people do the same thing with Charlotte Flair.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell people, so I would sit down, I always tell people, so you're telling me that you say Logan Paul only got there for his popularity.
Right.
You say Charlotte Flair only got to where she is because of her last name. So tell me something. If you were I'm not saying you per se, I'm not saying you either, Rob. So I'm trying to say, if you had a father or mother who was pretty famous in the game, multi-world champion, and they gave you the shot to skip the indies, they opened the door for you to bypass the indies and go train the right way, because the performance center, they don't slack. They make sure you get the training. They give you that chance, and you go out there and prove you have, and you have the natural, given talent. Would you not take that opportunity? Would you not take that door that your father and mother opened for you and go show the world that, yeah, something, you're more than just your father or mother's last name. You're your own person. If you were a YouTuber that decided, or a TikToker or a musician in Bad Bunny's case, who once again had the natural ability to do what these men and women do in the ring, and and you got the opportunity to train, would you not take it? I don't think any one of those people that say stuff about Logan Paul or Charlotte would say no. Unless, of course, you're a real hard-headed person that's like, yeah, I'm independent, I want to prove like Tessa Blanchard did that. Tessa Blanchard was the one but I think that was a case of her father not wanting her to be in the business. Because if he was okay with it, if Magnum TA was okay with it as well, she would have been right there in WWE with Charlotte. But the thing I don't get with people is that they feel, I think it is, I think that they feel that you have to spend 100 years on the indies before that's considered paying your dues before you get to the big time. And like with any industry, the model changes. That's the one inevitable thing with any industry. It is going to change. Sometimes it might be for the good, sometimes it might be for the bad, but a change is definitely going to come.
It does. And I mean, the performance center, you get your reps and you get the correct training in. But that's the thing. People are going to say what they want to say. But I mean, I look at a lot of talents that didn't come on the indies. Like you look at someone like Baron Corbin. He came from the football world. He got humbled real quick. He had an attitude. And then look at what he's doing now. I mean, he's doing his mark now back in NXT. I mean, what they're doing now, it's the developmental. It's like the third brand, but also it's the developmental like we saw with the OVWs back in the day. You can have Baron Corbin working like we saw with Carmelo Hayes. He's that guy that can give advice because he's learned from people like Norman Smiley and the WWE Performance Center and many different coaches and trainers there. So Baron Corbin's in that role, and he has progressed like shot out of a cannon, man. You could say he beat Kurt Angle at WrestleMania. He's just one of those guys as well that's there. You have a lot of talent like a Drew Gulak and stuff. That's why I kind of like the NXT model, because it's very much, okay, let's put the veterans with the young stars, help elevate them, but also you have a lot of stuff that we see that is coming into it that can be make new stars, like a Carmelo Hayes or a Trick Williams, what have you. It's just the model that they're doing now is very, very smart, and a lot of people sleep on it, which they shouldn't, because there's a lot of talent there, and if you just let them thrive and strive, you're going to see a lot of just night and day successes. And I think it's great how they're doing that business model over there.
Yeah, NXT is definitely, I actually enjoy NXT now. It's really heating up. I like it. I mean, there was a bit of a decline, last year. I guess you could say early late 2021, early 2022, there was a bit of a decline, but now there's a bit of a, I guess you could say, renaissance, if you want to call it that, with that brand that we've been seeing for the last year. So I've actually enjoyed it. I like it. I like what they're doing. I like, man, it's crazy. And now they're taking the Rob Bass. You have a twin brother? I'm seeing another one. You trying to join here? Okay. All right. I guess Rob is back here. Okay, we have two Robs. What's going on? Now we have one. Okay. Technical difficulties. Hey, you okay, bro?
StreamYard's on its ish again.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I just
I'm
saw
trying to exit out and come back in. Oh, it's
Yeah.
paused. Like, I missed half the conversation. It's like
Yeah.
paused every minute. I'm like,
Yeah, I just saw your brother Bob race just now. Yeah, he didn't say much though, but yeah. Um, but yeah, it's very interesting how now they're taking the collegiate athletes, and now they're making something out of them, man. I'm not trying to create no division, but if I were Tony Khan, I'd be watching very carefully because it's getting kind of like, I guess a bit like, I don't know what the right term is, but a bit weird, like
Well, no, it's getting more.
how they're doing things.
No, it's getting more competitive and it's evolving and adapting. And I think the smart thing, and people act like it's new, when you have a Seth Rollins wrestling on NXT who goes back to truth, like a Baron Corbin, or if you have AJ Styles and Grayson Waller, you're bringing in people new, but you're working with the rosters, like having them go across all three brands does a lot of wonders. And I mean, having the New Day when they were the NXT Tag Team Champions, you need that. You know what I'm saying? It's like when, and CM Punk made this reference years and years ago, NHL hockey players play with the AHL. You have to have that mix because it helps you get better. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it's all about, is about adapting and getting better to get to that main stage, the main roster, if you will. But what you're doing in NXT, you're putting on the product. They got the Great American Bash coming up. So if what your product is doing, it's putting asses in the seats and putting butts in the arena and talking people into the building, it's all about storytelling. It's all about, gravitational pull. It's all about eliciting a reaction, evoking emotions. If you're doing that, you're golden. It's simple as that. You're golden.
Yeah, definitely. So speaking of putting asses in the seats, man. So I gotta ask you, man. Growing up, did you ever get to go to any of the WWE events or the Impact or Ring of Honor? I don't know if they were that popular at the time, but did you ever get to go to any of those events, or you just watched on TV like how I was when I was for the first, I guess, couple years of my fandom?
Right. So my first year, like I mentioned, starting watching wrestling in 2002, I did get to go to SummerSlam with Shawn and Triple H in the non-sanctioned match and the Brock Lesnar Rock infamous match where Brock won the Undisputed Championship. Yep.
I'm jealous, man. What?
Yep. And then November, Survivor Series 02, the first ever Elimination Chamber, Shawn Michaels winning the World Heavyweight Championship. WrestleMania 20, I got to see that event live and The Undertaker coming back and what happened in the main event. Ring of Honor, I was there for Bryan Danielson when he beat James Gibson, aka Jamie Noble, for the Ring of Honor World Title at Lake Grove, New York, Sports Plus. So, and I Impact when they were at Westbury, Long Island, when Jeff Hardy was the champion, and they did a lot of shows around that time. And I mean, Mick Foley was at one, Hulk Hogan was at one. So I've been around. And I've gotten to see a lot of indie shows, NYWC, New York Wrestling Connection, and so much stuff. So I've been around. I've seen my quite yes,
man, you had a great life, man. That SummerSlam 2002 is a classic.
It is
that one right there.
Yes, it's one of the most underrated pay-per-views, probably the best pay-per-view of that year. Not a bad match on the card. And I mean, for me, like we talked about, like we mentioned the Hardys earlier, I even mentioned this. For those who've never seen Hardys and Young Bucks, they did one in Northeast Wrestling. One was very popular. So there was something for everywhere. But yeah, 02 was the big year for like the SummerSlams and the Survivor Series. So I've gotten a chance to be a lot. I was actually, it's funny, I was at the Raw where Kane unmasked, and I was sitting third row, so you actually see a young 11-year-old me in a red shirt, like on camera, just screaming my head off. So I've had the pleasure and privilege of being a lot of great events, and I'm just grateful, man. I enjoy going, I enjoy watching, and I just enjoy talking about it. So yeah, I've been to quite a few, Remy.
That is awesome, man. Like you've seen some historical events, man. That's Shawn Michaels and Triple H rivalry in general was well told. And it's funny because I remember like they had their feud went on for like years, like for like 4 years. And I was like, I remember one time I had a coworker. This is when I'd moved to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I was telling him, I was like, he was watching wrestling. He was a wrestling fan too, and I was like, do you think Triple H will ever reform DX? This was like early 2006, and he was like, nah, because he was like, I'm the game, and da, da, da. And I was like, it would be nice to see them reform, but I don't think it's gonna happen because Triple H is just too much. He's just Triple H right now, and he's just like, I don't think he wants to go back to that. And then lo and behold, 4 months later, they reform D-Generation X, and yeah, I was like, wow, that was when I really enjoyed them. Like when they were the duo, and I was like, wow, they actually reformed DX. That's cool,
I mean, they've had some great memories from that. Like you mentioned, the Spirit Squad, the rated RKOs, the legacy matches. Like it's the DX. Like what can you say? No matter what reformation it is, whether you saw in the Attitude Era or during the Ruthless Aggression Era, it's DX. You know what I'm saying? It's classic H and Sean.
Yeah, I remember when they actually reformed. Now, I never used to do the DX cross chop back in high school, but 23-year-old me in 2006 was cross chopping my coworkers. I'm surprised I didn't get called into HR, but they would start it because they would start stuff me. I'm like, you know what, man, stop it. And they were like, yeah, whatever. And I was, in hindsight, I was like, yo, I'm lucky. Somebody must have been praying, or they sent some like some good vibes my way. Cause you say that, like you do that to somebody, it's like, wow, like you're definitely gonna get a negative reaction. But they were just like, yeah, whatever, man, and they just walked away. But that was a fun time though, man. I really enjoyed when they actually reformed. But yeah, man. But so so now that you're going to the shows, you've been to several historical ones. That Madison Square Garden Survivor Series was actually wild. I remember the debut of Scott Steiner, and when he destroyed, I think it was Matt Hardy, and I think it was Christopher Nowinski.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, that's when he was doing the whole Matitude thing. Matt Hardy was doing the Matitude thing, and Scott Steiner made his debut. I never forget that. So you're going to the shows, you're supporting your favorites and whatnot. Now, how did your journey go from wrestling fan to now Michael Larkin, CCW commentator and podcaster?
So for me, it was really easy. Like in 2015, I wanted to get into podcasting. I had my best friend who I still do my podcasting with. His name is Steven Nicoforo. He suggested it. I was a little apprehensive at first, but then we started getting our grind going, and we've been doing that since 2015. I branched out into interviews because I've always loved giving people, like we mentioned, the platform to tell their story. And there's so many great, talented people of all facets of life. So I started interviewing wrestlers, musicians, what have you, whether it doesn't matter if you're an indie talent or in the business or an indie artist, music artist, what have you. For me, it was just giving people the platform, tell their story, eliciting a reaction, having conversations, making new friends. That's what you have to do. It's all about networking. And then that transmogrified into what we're doing now at CCW. I had interviewed Marcello for my On the Mic with Mike series. We had a great interview and we started talking, and I wanted to be more involved because I was really enjoying the product he was putting out. And I mean, CCW is still kind of in its infancy. It hasn't been around too long, but god dang it, every time you watch it, you want to continue watching more because he has the right vision of where he wants to go storyline wise and who he wants to use the talent wise on his show. So he has a great knowledge and knack for that. So I talked with Marcello, and then I came up with the Progression and Succession name, which stands for Progression of Women in Professional Wrestling and their succession along the way. And then the recaps came into my lap. So yeah, it was just years of grinding. Just being me, being the pro that I am, and just really wanting to go out there and just give people the platform, tell their stories, while also showcase what I'm about, just talent-wise, amplifying myself to the best of my abilities. And here I am today. So it's a blessing, really, what it is. It's just all blessings and just staying on the right path and trusting the process, as they say.
I just got to say, congrats on, as we call it, jumping the guardrail respectfully. When I say jumping the guardrail respectfully, I mean, you're like, you know what? I'm tired of being a fan. I'm going to jump the guardrail, not get in the ring, but I'm going to get into the wrestling business the right way and be a part of, the pro wrestling industry. So I got to say congratulations on that, and also getting to be a part of the CCW team, because we're good friends with Marcello too, and I'm very happy for and proud of his success. He always has supporters in us here at Ringside Society, and when I see that he's actually gotten people like Ella J to be a part of his team, who is a phenomenal woman. Who, I don't know how one time the woman did 6 podcast interviews in a day. I'm like, what do you take for energy if it's not natural? Because I do too. And I'm like, after the second one, I'm like, okay, I don't want to see my laptop. My phone is face down. I'm gonna go watch some Walking Dead or whatever TV show I got to catch up on. I don't want to hear about Ringside Society for the rest of the night. And he has people like this woman, I forget. She goes by In Cat We Trust. In Cat, if you ever see this,
Katrina.
Please don't kick my Katrina Storm. Katrina, sorry, my bad. Please don't kick my ass if you ever see me. I'll get your name right next time. But Katrina Storm, who I've actually met before, another brilliant woman who actually writes novels. And I'm like, this man has a great group of people, and then he has Alyssa Marino, who one of these days I'm gonna get her on here. We're gonna eat some cereal together. Rob, I hope you got your cereal bowl, because it's gonna be one of those episodes. But he got her on the team, and I'm like, this man is definitely building one hell of a brand, and not just any brand, a brand that people are gonna put some respect on. And having you as that team, that's like, y'all are just like, it's just all up from here. And like I think like he had the highest, like this past show, the Capital Cup, has been his highest viewed one so far live, and he just started going live. The last event, the event before this one, was the first time he went live. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, awesome! This man is definitely seeing some success, and I'm very happy for him. And it's definitely going to be one of those brands to actually, keep a good eye on, especially with the talent that, the man had Miyu Yamashita on his show. He had Sue Young. Mm-hmm. He's had Shaza McKenzie all the way from Australia. He's had another woman she calls herself the First Class Battle Axe. I forgot what her name was. I think it starts with E, but she came all the way from Australia. And I'm like, this man is definitely doing it, and doing it right, and he's successful with it. And I hope to see another show real soon, because I've only been to one so far. I was supposed to go to this one, but transportation was kind of crazy from here. So,
but I mean, and I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry, Remy, but just to add on to your point, you look at Marcello, like we talk about, like where he wants to go, and like you mentioned with the title match, just the stuff going live. You have a market like New Jersey, and you look at the history of New Jersey professional wrestling, the Jersey All Pro Wrestling, rest in peace, Fat Frank, NWA Cyberspace, and so many people that came from that, Wayne, New Jersey, what have you. You look at people like the Backseat Boys, Trent Acid and Johnny Cashmere, and so many talents that came through the New Jersey Northeast side of things. So you have the legendary Monster Factory, you have Delaware. There's only nowhere to go but up. You know what I'm saying? And like you mentioned, coming from all different sides and everything from different companies, like you look at Pretty Empowered from NWA, and especially the Renegade Twins, they did their thing in NWA. And our CCW homegrowns, much like Becca is, and Vita Von Star, Rebecca Scott, what have you. I think, like you mentioned, the future is up, but also at the same time, if you don't know who they are, you're going to know who they are. So I think it's the right mentality of putting yourself out there. I just wanted to add that part.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's definitely the right mentality that they have. So I just got a few more before Rob asks you a couple questions as well. So if somebody wanted to become a commentator, so for a promotion, you've been doing this for a minute now. They say, hey, Michael, I like what you're doing, man. The podcasting thing is cool. Your commentating thing, that's cool. That's pretty phenomenal what you're doing. What advice would you give that person that wants to get into commentating in regards to pro wrestling?
Be confident. Be yourself. It's going to be hard, because a lot of people, how they feel with their certain cadence in their voice, or hell, even if they want to be on video. I look at it from a stance too as well. You don't know until you try it. And if you're not, if you try it and you feel like it's not for you, then just do something else. And just whatever you do, though, put your mind to. You know what I'm saying? If you want to get into wrestling, study, know the craft, apply your craft, and really just absorb it and take all the information in. As they say, eyes open, ears and eyes open. You know what I'm saying? That's really the best thing I can say. It's very cliche, but it's also very true. And also always be humble and never stop learning, because especially with the professional wrestling business, you never stop learning, much like anything in life. So I would just say, absorb all the knowledge that you can, be humble, be professional, be confident, and just take it all in.
Awesome. So for those of y'all listening, and how long you doing this for 10 years, right?
So podcasting since 2015 and doing this with CCW about 2 years now. So you can about 10 years. Yes.
Okay. So yeah, added up 10 years. So you just got y'all just got, for those of y'all listening that just heard that advice came from a 10-year vet. So you got a little something from us here at Ringside Society. Anything else, you probably got to hit him up. I don't know if he's going to charge you for his time, because time is money, especially you live in New York too, right?
I'm originally from Long Island, but I currently am in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Okay, but you're from New York still, so time is money.
Oh, yeah.
So y'all, if you want anything else, if you want anything else from him, definitely, hit him up. If he charges you, I don't know, but you got a little something from him right now here at Ringside Society. So my last question, man. I always say, when I started this, I've had some inspirations and influences, not people that I want to be just like, because at the end of the day, you don't want to be like somebody. You want to write your own story, leave your own legacy. I think I'm gonna put that on a shirt too. Sounds pretty good. But you want to write your own story, leave your own legacy. I've always said I have 3 inspirations when it comes to podcasting, and that's my mentor George Alonso, who I hope one day you get to meet. Great guy. Rob, I know you've met him. You've been on the show several times, but he's actually, I always say he's like the Obi-Wan Kenobi to my Anakin Skywalker. Just I haven't turned heel and tried to attack him yet, or anybody else for that matter. There's also a guy by the name of Trey King who runs a YouTube show called The Trey King Show, which is a very great show. It's always talking about pretty much crimes that happen and so on. Not murder mystery, but like things that happen, like people getting into fights and so on. And then my third inspiration is one of the most controversial radio hosts. You live in New York. I know you've heard of him. Rob, I know you've heard of him too, because you probably listened to this radio show, The Breakfast Club's own Charlemagne the God. He's my third one.
All right.
Now, I don't bring people on here to make them uncomfortable or make fun of them, but it's just the energy, how he's like, the energy he has, that makes me like, that's very inspirational as well too. But not to digress, not to branch away from the topic, but who would you say? What I meant to ask was, who would you say are Michael Larkin's influences when it comes to commentating / podcasting?
So when I look at, well, first of all, I come from, my mother and father work for a radio station, BLI. So I have to put my parents over, because that's kind of what got me into what I'm doing now. So those two are my biggest influence, as well as God for putting me here. But also at the same time, if I had to look from a wrestling standpoint, I mean, dude, I think what Michael Cole's doing now is great. But I also, from the seriousness that he had at Jim Ross, Michael Cole stands out to me. You look at people now that are really just killing it. And I mean, I was always a Taz guy, because we're also New Yorkers, brother. And you know what I'm saying? So the New Yorkers got to stick together. And he just, from Red Hook, from Brooklyn, New York, I always liked how he put the flavor to it. I mean, you look at someone like a Joey Styles that stands out, for a guy who just called the pay-per-view alone, that being ECW. So, I mean, if you will look at it, I'll even include Paul Heyman in this, because I think Paul Heyman is just absolutely extraordinary what he does on all sides. So if I had to pick a few, I would probably have to say Michael Cole, JR, Paul Heyman, and probably Taz, just because I like Taz's roughness and his rawness and his bluntness. You know what I'm saying? From someone who, his career was cut short due to a neck injury, and he did his thing from commentating and what have you. I always just enjoyed that. So if I had to pick, there would be some. I like them all, but if I had to give you ones right now off the top of my head, I would go with them. Yeah,
that's a great set of commentators as well. You know what, Loki? Yeah, Taz was always pretty good on commentating when you look at it. He could be with any. He could have any broadcast teammate, and he would be golden. Like he just has that way about him. Although for one event, I would like to see Jr. You mentioned Jr. If it's just a one-off show, I'd like to see Jim Ross and Mike Tenay, even if it's just for one show, work together on broadcasting. That would be epic because I grew up on both of them. I grew up listening to Jim Ross. You know, I started watching in 1990, and obviously, when he joined in '93, I was still watching. I was a 10-year-old kid then, and I grew up listening to him. And then Mike Tenay came on the scene in WCW in '96, and I grew up listening to him too. So I would like to see, just even if it's just a one-time thing, just the two of them on commentary, because I know that would be like something memorable. Just to hear those two as well on calling a match and whatnot.
Hey, you're putting that in the universe, man. I mean, Mike Tenay, the Professor Mike Tenay, did his thing as well in TNA with Don West. So you put up like two bundles of knowledge here together for a commentary team. I like that.
Yeah, that would definitely be something. So, Michael, you mentioned Michael. Every time I hear about Michael Cole, I can't help but think about all the times The Rock used to clown him when he'd say, "Michael Cole, know your role and shut your mouth. Nice shirt, 25 cents." Or when Michael Cole would go to The Rock's dressing room and get an interview, and he's like, and The Rock is like, "What in the blue hell's the matter with you?" And then Michael Cole would start looking down. He's like, "Michael Cole, are you looking at The Rock's? Are you looking at the people's strudel?" And then he would I think he'd say, "Wait a minute, let me go change. And by the way, Michael Cole, you're even worse than Lillian Garcia." Like all those times The Rock would clown on him. Like I would just be cracking up. I'm like, poor Michael Cole, but he's probably having a good laugh backstage when the show is over. But yeah, Michael Cole is definitely up there with some of the greatest commentators in wrestling.
Absolutely. I mean, Michael Cole and The Rock, when he was doing, the Go Heat bitch when they were in Miami and he gives them the rock bottom. Michael Cole's wearing the Celtics jersey. I mean, you can't get more heat than that. So, I mean,
yeah. All right. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Rob. I know Rob has a couple of questions for you. I got to step away for a bit. Rob, go ahead, man. The floor is yours.
All righty.
All right, sweet. Thanks, man. So what's going on, Mike, man? How you doing today?
I'm good, man. Now, I have a question to ask you before we do this. Your name is Rob Bass. Can I be your easy rock for this? You know what I'm saying? Because
There you go, man. There you go, man. Hey, joy and pain. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
The guy that I started training with, man, we're still friends to this day and stuff, man. He goes by Easy E in the ring.
Hey,
I'm Rob Bass, Easy E, and we're always like, man, but on this final run, I need to manage him. And I'll be Rob Bass. He's a Easy Rock or whatever. Go out there.
Of course. I mean, there was a wrestler in ECW that was Easy Money. So I mean, why not? And he was the Easy Money. So why not? It works. That's
right. Yeah. Right now he's going as tons of fun and stuff. Yeah. So yeah, we can do tons of fun, Easy E or whatever, something like that.
I like it.
So how's everything going your way, man? How's the weather treating you? Is it the heat brutal out that way?
Oh, man, it's not that bad. It's nice out. It's hot. It's the summertime. It's beach weather. You know what I'm saying? But we're good. I mean, if it's not sunny, it's raining. But good day, it's not raining. So that's a plus.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I was I've been hanging out in the AC, pretty much. I mean, it's that humidity gets me sometimes, man. So I gotta ask, you're talking about commentary and all that. I always that's the one thing I've always been like afraid of doing. Because we do it on little regional TV, and I'm always scared I might drop an F-bomb, something like that and all that good stuff. So what's your preparation for commentary? Do you have like a little system you go through? Are you getting with the guys or gals? Hey, do you need me to put this over? What's this call? This, that, and other. Explain what's your preparation process.
Sure. So, I mean, half of it's like half notes and half of it is just, off the top. I mean, I always make sure to study the product and know knowledge about it. But when you're doing commentary as well, I mean, I try not to say the F-bomb as well. I think because it comes so natural with how you speak and, you're being yourself. But I think with me, it's like I want to emphasize, either a maneuver, or I just want to emphasize why this match is important, or I emphasize why when I'm ring announcing someone like I did in Vegas, like why this is a big, important role, why this is a big, important star coming through. Because everybody has their role on, it doesn't matter who it is. And one thing I've learned from Marcello, everybody has a great role in the production of it, whether it be the ring announcer, the commentator, what have you. Everybody has their role. So I think for me, it's just like there's preparation of just, okay, here's what I want to emphasize here. How do I want the cadence of my voice to be here? It's really just, pretty much straightforward. I may write a little something down, but for me, I have a good inkling of what I want to do in my head, and I just let it flow onto the masses, or I let it flow onto what you see here. So, I mean, I think it's just mainly it's a bit of mental preparation with a side of notes, but, mainly just here, straightforward, kind of like mental. Okay, I'm going to go over here. We're going to do this. We're going to do this, and let's make it flow right into here and have a nice gel,
Sounds like it sounds good to me. Now you mentioned ring announcing and stuff. I mean, tell me about that experience, and well, what do you like better? You like commentary, or you like going ring announcing and stuff better?
Oh, well, first of all, ring announcer can be very scary. It's nervous. You're standing right in that ring. It's nuts, but I like ring announcing for the fact that, you want to get the crowd live in it, because if they can see your energy in the ring, that's it right there. They know that this is important. Like we talk about eliciting reactions and evoking emotions. I think that's from the great part of it, but I think commentary as well is just because, again, it's all about knowledge and really getting into it, and also the reactions of the commentator with the moves, what have you, telling the story. I think both roles are really great. You know what I'm saying? Just because there's so much that goes into it, and how you want to portray yourself and portray the best representation of your presentation that is the show. So if I had to pick between the two, man, I like them both, but I really do enjoy commentary and promoting a lot of the info of what we get to see and the whole extravaganza, if you will, that is a CCW event or whatever that we're talking about. So, I mean, I think I like the commentary a little bit more, but if I had to pick, I say I like them both, but if I had to lean, I got to go more commentary with it, just because it's, it's just there's a lot of energy that goes into it. Both very, very much similar, but kind of different, if you will, if that makes sense. But I got to go commentary, man.
Yeah, I agree with that. Ring announcing is a little stressful, man. I've when I did ring announcing with 1CW, it was like we would go out and then CCW would come out,
Right.
and then we would switch back and forth and stuff. And I remember Rosaria, she was coming out and stuff, and I was coming back out, and I remember everybody like, we want the pretty one. What are you doing? So I just turned and looked. I was like, well, you got the sexy one right now. And everybody like, ah. So after that, nobody, yelled that stuff.
Right.
So, I like it, man. But funny commentary story. But I was getting out going my first thing. I got all prepared. I had my index card. What everybody, all their announcing stuff. I'm ready. I'm like, yes, I got this. I'm ready to roll out. And the promoter Sean Hardy comes up to me. He's like, all right, did you get a script for the show? I'm like, script? The hell are you talking about? I ain't getting no script. He's like, all right, that's fine, okay. When you go out there, and all I hear behind me is like 10, 9, 8. I'm just like, and I'm like, okay. And it's 3, 2, 1. He's like, all right, yeah, going out there. And by the time I crossed that curtain, I forgot everything he told me. You know what I mean? So I'm like, Houston, Delaware Heights. So I just pretended like I knew what I was doing. I mean, nobody knew a difference. Nobody knew anything different. So I just go out there. It was like, yeah, everybody like, ah. So I'm like, whew. Yeah, it was kind of stressful.
It absolutely is, but I think you made the most of it. I mean, sometimes we do forget, it happens to the best of us, but I think as we can just, we improv, we go on the fly. And I mean, I've seen you do your stuff as well, Rob. I've seen a lot of your photos and a lot of your content. You do what you do, and that's why you are Rob Bass. I mean, it doesn't show, but I think it just shows like the professional that you are, whatever circumstance that you're in. And I mean, you may be stressed, but you make the most of it, man. I think that's really what it's about, making the most of your time, no matter how long it is, whether it be ring announcing or whatever. You make the most of your time.
That's right. Hey, yeah, you gotta do your thing.
Absolutely.
So I was doing a little research and stuff, man. I seen you talking about wrestling games and stuff, So, like, what are your favorite wrestling games? And are you playing anything right now? Have you picked up the AEW game? And what are you doing now?
Not the AEW yet, but I will say WWE 2K23 is a great storyline with a lot of the characters there, especially what we saw back in the past with Buzz. I'm an old schooler kind of guy, man. Like, here comes the pain I will always rep. I got my PS2. I got my
yeah.
Yep, Shut Your Mouth even as well. The SmackDown versus Raw series, like I still have the Wii with WWE 13 on it. SmackDown versus Raw 2011. I'm a retro kind of guy, but I mean, I like the new games that we have. I still haven't picked up Fight Forever yet, but I definitely want to. And no, I mean, I'm more retro just because I like the story. What's great about it too is, and apologize for rambling, but you look at like some of the stories that you see in the video games. A lot of people don't even realize it. Like a lot of the season modes are like really, really good from the storytelling and some of the wild stuff that goes on to it. But I was more of a retro kid, and I mean, I still rock Here Comes the Pain. So if I had to pick one, I got smacked the Here Comes the Pain all day, every day. Game may be 20 doggone years old, but it's still a hell of a game.
Oh yeah. I like that. I like the older games too. Like I had SmackDown versus Raw 07, 08 for my 360, and when my buddies and I, we'll get up together or whatever. If it's like just two of us, we'll do 07, GM mode, like like Creed and the Austin Creed then did, and if it's 08, it's three of us, we'll play 08, so somebody's got SmackDown, someone's got Raw and ECW, man. But ECW, man, they always get the short end of the stick because the only belt they have is the heavyweight. They don't have any tag. They don't have a women's championship. They don't have anything. It's just, top dog, and that's it, So it's like, man.
Right. Well, I think with the SmackDown vs. Raw 8, I was really big into it because, like, when you look at the ECW side of things, like the roster there, but I think for me, just because Marcus Corvan was in it, and I was a big Alpha Male Monty Brown fan from TNA, his only video game appearance, but god dang it, who doesn't love a good pounce, right?
There you go. Hey, I'm all for one, man. And then Keith Lee, I love when he does that stuff too, man.
Yes.
Oh man. So you have like a couple podcasts going on right now, man. Like how do you find time to get do all that and stuff? And when's your next show coming up?
Sure. So as far as podcasting goes, I mean, I used to work a lot of night shifts, to be completely honest with you. So I had a lot more time in the afternoon and the morning to do it. For me now, it's just ever since I got promoted at my job to like day shifts now and really switching hours. For me, I just do it, like I'm finding the time, like I said, loving to do this with you guys here. But I mean, I do it more in the evenings, because I work till 6 and then I'll record whatever and I'll record and set interviews. And sometimes I'm recording at like 9 or 10 at night and then I just edit stuff and then I go to bed. But for me, it's just like, it's really just a nice little flex, a nice little just, bringing things together and just really going out there and doing it. I mean, I find the time just to relax, which is awesome. But I think with me, I just enjoy it just because it puts a lot of great content out there and it's all about the content nowadays with being a content creator. But I mean, I find time, so I talk pop culture, I talk wrestling, I talk whatever. It all depends on everybody's schedule. Because one thing I'm really big into is accommodation and comfortability. I accommodate to your schedule and I want to make you feel comfortable. So, and I mean, it's just all about making the opportunities. I mean, I find time, but it's just, I find a way to balance it. It's hard, but at the same time, it's interesting. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're playing a game, challenging yourself. How can I balance myself?
There you go. Now, you also talk about you're a fan of MMA. I love watching MMA also and stuff. And you also talk about MMA. And I wanted to ask you, there's like 2 fights coming up. Well, they're not really MMA. They're boxing matches, but they have MMA, people going against boxing, guys. And I was wondering, because they're in my mind, I was reading about them today. I was wondering what you think about them. You got Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou. Like, I don't know when that is. And then you got Nate Diaz and is it Logan or is it Jake Paul that he's fighting?
Jake Paul.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so what do you think about that? You know what I mean? Like, because, a lot of people say, Fury Ngannou, man, that's like, man, you're a heavyweight boxer, you're going against an MMA guy. That's like kind of, 2 different things and stuff, you know what I mean? Like, why would you do that? But, I'm like, it's a payday, like.
I mean, I'm a fan of Tyson Fury, not just because of what he's done with WWE and his appearances there, but I mean, the guy's a great fighter. He has precision, he has the strikes, he has everything that goes into what he does. I'm a big Tyson Fury guy, and I mean, Nate Diaz and Jake Paul. I mean, Jake Paul, much like his brother, is the great heel of just, he runs his mouth, but he also can back it up. Jake Paul works extremely hard at what he does. But I think with me, I've seen Nate Diaz work as well. It's going to be tough because Jake, for what people say about him, I mean, he was a guy that was on Bizarrevark, for God's sake, on the Disney Channel, and now he's transformed and transmogrified himself to what he is now. So, I mean, it's going to be a very interesting fight. I want to see Tyson get the win, and I want to see, in a way, I want to see Nate Diaz shut up that Jake Paul son of a gun there. But also at the same time, I'm looking forward to a hell of a fight and just people applying their crafts. So I want Nate Diaz, but I would not be shocked if Jake wins. But for the other fight, I got to go Tyson Fury all day. I mean, it's in the name, Fury and Tyson, Mikey Tyson. So come on, give me some,
Oh yeah. I agree, man. Fury, yeah, it's probably he's going to dominate, man. It's one of those things. But Diaz and Paul, man, Diaz, he ain't going to give up. He will be there bloody. He will be out there with one eye hanging off. Busting nose, like, let's come on, I'm ready to roll. ring that bell. Let's go. Like in Rocky, he'd be like, cut me, Mick, cut me. I'm ready to go back out there. You know, I don't care. You know what I mean? Because, you know, Paul's got, you know, he's got a tough mountain to climb, you know what I mean, with Diaz. So, whew.
Oh my goodness, right? And I mean that's just what makes it. It's what want to entice the viewer and really elicit reactions. So I can't wait to see it. I'm definitely gonna be watching those two.
That's right. That's right. Now, speaking of like the podcast and stuff, you know, I mean, do you have any funny podcasting stories that have happened to you or anything, you know, along the way? Like, you know, maybe, you know, something's messed up, you know, maybe somebody says something crazy and wild, and you're like, what in the world? Like, you know, anything in the world, you know, happened or whatever.
Well, thankfully I've been lucky. And I think it's been pretty good. But I mean, Kid Cash, I interviewed Kid Cash back in the day, ECW legend, TNA legend, WWE. Very blunt, you know, about how he feels, especially when it comes to TNA at the time when Dixie Carter was in charge. Rodney Mack is also very blunt. I interviewed Rodney Mack years ago. He was very blunt, but also a very cool guy, very chill. But if I had to say, probably Kid Cash, because he's very blunt about TNA and professional wrestling and everything that goes into it, from the trials and tribulations and hardships. It was just, I just remember coming out of that, like, you know, that's a real one. Because, I mean, Kid Cash, I mean, what am I going to say? He was trained by the great Ricky Morton, for God's sake. You know, that's his mentor. That's his trainer. So he was raised very old school, and he was brought up the right way. So, I mean, I respect it for what he said. But, yeah, don't talk about TNA and the financial problems at the time with Dixie Carter, because he was very blunt about talking about that particular topic and TNA as a whole. So that's what I remember when I interviewed Kid Cash.
That's right. Those are like the real fun interviews too, you know what I mean? Where you're like that, you're like, oh wow, okay, I wasn't expecting that. Okay, let's follow up on this. You know what I mean? I love those. You know, those are real fun.
Oh, agreed. I mean, it's bluntness, it's rawness, but also at the same time, it's genuine and honest, which is what you want in any show: genuinity and honesty.
Oh yeah. I definitely agree. So now, you know, I got to ask, you know, before I pass it on to Remy, you know, I'm always trying to find, you know, new movies and TV shows to watch because, you know, I'm in my 40s now and I get stuck watching the same old thing like comfort shows, you know what I mean? So, you know, is there anything new, you know, new movies or TV shows you're into right now, you've seen, you know, that maybe I should go check out?
No, I'm right there with you. I mean, in my 30s with my old soul, like you could catch me on Tubi watching old school episodes of Miami Vice with Don Johnson and Ricardo Tubbs and Philip Michael Thomas. Like, but that's me. I'm right in the same boat with you. But I mean, I will say this: I did recently check out because I wanted to check out Creed 3. Great movie from top to bottom. Like, if you've not seen Creed 3, go out of your way to see it. It really does heighten up the Creed series. That's really all I can say on that. I'm not much of like a Netflix and chill kind of cat. I mean, I'll watch like an old Kenan and Kel, for God's sake, because I was excited when Kenan and Kel came on Netflix because I was a big Kenan and Kel fan. So I'm much more of a comfort type of cat when it comes to shows. But I will say, last movie I saw was Creed 3. So if anybody hasn't seen Creed 3, go out of your way to see it.
Oh, yeah, Creed 3. Yeah, those Creed movies are really good. You know, I mean, I enjoy all of them and stuff. And I'm like, okay, they're real good. Yeah. And Miami Vice, man, I'm right along. I didn't know Miami Vice is on Tubi right now, so I don't think I might have to, you know, fire up Tubi, you know, a little later and go watch that. Because I used to love that, man. I remember Crockett used to have the pet alligator, the crocodile, and all that stuff.
Yeah,
and,
Elvis. Yeah. You're right. Yep.
I remember there's one episode I remember as a kid where with it was they found somebody frozen. I think it was a caveman or something like that, I believe. I think it was in the later episodes.
Yeah, that sounds like a season 4 episode. I think you're right about that. But yeah, and I will say this about this, and I don't mean to cut you off, but look at Miami Vice. I will say this, folks. Don't watch the Colin Farrell, Jamie Foxx movie, because just don't. I'm just going to put it like that. Watch the series. Watch the old school 5 seasons. Don't watch the Colin Farrell, Jamie Foxx movie. Just you don't. It's not the same. It's not the same. And it's not the same. That's all I'll say about that.
Most of those TV series to movies, the old TV series, I don't mean to cut you off, I don't mean to butt in, Rob, but most of the TV series to modern day movie things, the modern day movie remakes, they're not good. Like it's like Charlie's Angels. To me, like that was that the first one, okay, that was pretty decent. But like the second one was just I'm not really feeling it. You know, and then you had Starsky and Hutch, which was it Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller, the remake. But before that, it was actually a pretty serious thing. So I'm like, what are you guys doing? Starsky and Hutch was never a comedy. It was a buddy cop drama that was enjoyable. I mean, I'm not knocking Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson. They're two great actors. I love their comedy. You know, I'm actually a pretty big fan of, you know, the Brat Pack. Was it the Frat Pack? That was named their crew. Them, the Wilson brothers, Ben Stiller and Christopher, Will Ferrell. Sorry, I
Yeah.
call the guy. Yeah, Will Ferrell. I'm a huge fan of their work, but that just I just didn't like the fact they made that a comedy. But that's how most of them are, though.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, to each their own with how they enjoy it, but it's art like anything, with films and everything. But yeah, I agree. I mean, I remember seeing Starsky and Hutch as a kid. I'm like, and knowing of the show because my parents used to watch it and I had relatives that watch it. I'm like, this is not a comedy. I mean, it wasn't a bad movie, and we got Snoop Dogg as Huggy Bear, but I mean, it's not a comedy. You know what I'm saying? Starsky and Hutch was never a comedy movie per se or a comedy show. So it is what it is. They're different interpretations, so to speak.
That's right. I did like the A-Team one, you know what I mean? The one with Rampage
Yes.
and Liam Neeson's, you know what I mean? I like that one. That was a pretty good one, That was good. I like that one.
Oh, great.
I can't, man. I'm trying to think of more movies, though, TV shows and movies. I can't think offhand, but yeah. Sometimes they'll redo them and stuff. Like I know they did Magnum PI, and now they got like Higgins and Magnum, like shacking up now. And I was like, I don't know. That's kind of a little off-putting to me, a little weird, you know what I mean, to get into. I'm like, man, I don't know. Higgins, you know what I mean? He's like, the manservant, going over here doing whatever Thomas wanted, So, but anyway, you know what I mean? So, I do want to say, thank you very much for, taking time out of your busy schedule to come on chat with us, man. I had a blast. I wish you nothing but the positive things for you, you doing your commentary. If you go ring announcing your podcast, I wish you nothing but the best. I hope you get all the guests you need to. I hope you blow up, start going worldwide and all that good stuff, man.
I appreciate that, Remy, Rob. I really appreciate doing this show, and I think the one thing I could also say to your listeners, I always say this: life is an art form, and we're all applying our crafts, and just continue to apply our crafts in amazing fashion. So I'm happy to do this show. Anytime you guys want me back on, I'm here. So I really appreciate it. This was fun for me as well. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. We really and truly appreciate it, Michael. And we really and truly wish you all the best in all that you do with your podcast and commentating. Best believe when we see you in the big leagues, they'll be like, "Yo, we just had him on our show, man. Other man's doing this thing nationwide, man." We like to see people work hard and get rewarded, man. So we wish you nothing but the absolute best. And before we shut this show down, where can fans find you on social media when they want to listen to your podcast, find out when your next appearance is, or listen to your commentary, or if they want to, or when they want to purchase, any merchandise you may have? And where can bookers or promoters find you when they want to book you for their shows? When they're looking for that great commentary.
Sure. So I will say this: it's all under one umbrella here. So it's at SM Show 1 on Twitter, at MCL92. That's my podcasting page or my personal. You can reach me on either one. Instagram is Larkin_92 or MLarkinMB, the MB from Myrtle Beach, where I currently live. YouTube, it all has my links there too. YouTube.com/MikeLarkin92 gives you all my shows, from interviews, pop culture stuff, and just everything in general. And of course, the Capital Championship Wrestling YouTube channel, CCW Action on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, where have you. And I'm all up in there in the mix, if you will. And if you want to contact me and you want to book me as a podcast guest or what have you, you can email me at mlarkinei@gmail.com.
Awesome. So y'all definitely make sure y'all go out and follow this incredible man. He's doing a lot of great, phenomenal stuff, and you definitely don't want to miss on that. So go ahead and give him a follow. And by the way, I like that whole thing you have, Mike on the mic. I could imagine right now, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mike on the mic, or you have your special guest. Hey, you're here with Mike on the mic. I think you're on something. You're onto something there, man. I could definitely see you pulling off something like that. But keep up the good work, man. We're definitely rooting for you. And with that being said, it's about time for us to shut this show down. My eyelids are getting heavy. My stomach is rumbling. That means it's time for dinner and a nap. Maybe not in that order, but before I partake in those activities, Rob Bass, Mel Gibson to my Danny Glover, the Sean Spence to my Burton Guster, and the Tommy to my Ghost. Where can fans find you on social media when they want to find out when next appearances, purchase Rob Bass merchandise, and where can bookers and promoters find you when they want to book you for their shows?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram at Rob_Bass82, and Facebook Rob Bass. And then August 5th, you can catch 1CW. We're back in house in Delaware. I don't know the main event yet. Oh no, main event for that show will be Chris Wilde versus Rodrigo Rodriguez for the 1CW Pro Wrestling Championship, and we have Trucker Josh versus Miles Millennium for the Bulletproof Championship. So yeah, definitely check out that show. And then every Saturday, 10 a.m. 1CW, we're on Delmarva Sports Network. If you don't have it on Comcast or Fios, you can definitely download the app, or you can even go on DelmarvaSportsNetwork.com and watch us there. So definitely check us out. Saturday morning wrestling.
Yeah. 1CW back in house. I'm convinced I could definitely write some of this stuff. Rob, y'all should definitely name a pay-per-view after that. 1CW back in the Houston. Y'all might be onto something right there. Or we in the Houston, something like that. But y'all definitely make sure you check out 1CW. A lot of great men and women over there. A lot of great events, memorable events. If you're in Houston or any of the surrounding areas, definitely make sure you head on over and support 1CW. They're doing a lot of great things, and y'all definitely, might want to take a look at them. And if you want to follow me on social media, not that I say a lot of cool things, but I do go to some cool places every now and then. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at the Remy Blue. You can also find me on Facebook under the alias Remy Blue, and you can also find our podcast on social media. We're on Twitter and Instagram at Ringside Society, and we're also on Threads. I don't know if that's picked up yet, but yes, we're on Threads. Same thing at Ringside Society. Twitch at Ringside Society 2019. We're on Facebook as a Facebook group. We're also on Spotify, and we also have a Teespring store where we sell official Ringside Society merchandise. We have T-shirts, tank tops, for the summer. We have hoodies, long sleeve shirts. We even have, pillows and coffee mugs for your favorite warm beverage. So definitely make sure you check us out. As a matter of fact, pretty soon, if not by tonight, sometime this week, we're going to be releasing our new shirt. We call it the Miami Life Edition. It's for all our Miami, Florida-based wrestling fans. So we got a little something for y'all as well too. Definitely check us out. All proceeds from those shirts, from those sales, go back into keeping our show afloat. They did not go back into our pockets. Last but not least, we also have a YouTube show. We also have a YouTube channel where you can see cool interviews like this one, like the one we had with Josiah Jean, the Rocket, who's actually in Texas, and also the Dragon of Malice, Jasmine Howe. You can definitely check out those interviews on our YouTube channel. All you gotta do is go on YouTube, type in Ringside Society, and once you see that really handsome dark blue and light blue yin yang sound, the blue flames around it, that's when you know it's us. So make sure you subscribe to all our videos, because we got a lot of cool stuff coming up, and you don't want to miss a thing like Aerosmith in 1998. But with that being said, we just want to thank everybody that tuned in live tonight. Thank you very much. We really and truly appreciate it. We strive on being one of the best wrestling podcasts a wrestling fan could, should, and would listen to. To those of y'all that are going to listen later on, we get a chance. Thank you very much in advance. And those y'all that hate us, can't stand us, really and truly wish we'd go away, well, like myself at the Golden Corral and Rob Bass at the Taco Festival on Taco Tuesday, we're not going anywhere for a while.
They hate us because they ain't us.
And we ain't stopping. With that being said, we just want to let everybody know that we're very well, and that we're to everybody and their grandparents and their parents of a podcast. But we're not your grandparents' podcast. We're not your parents' podcast. As a matter of fact, we're not just any podcast. Hey, yo, Rob Bass, one time for the mind, one time for the people, one time for the wrestling culture, and one time for CCW commentator / podcaster Michael Larkin.
Woo!
Woo!
What type of podcast are we?
We're the Wrestling Fans Podcast.
That's right, we're the Wrestling Fans Podcast, Ringside Society, and we'll be back next week with another impressive guest on another impressive episode. But until then, we just have 4 favors for you. Stay safe, stay healthy, be excellent to each other, and party on, dudes. We out. Peace.
Peace.
See y'all. Good night. Stay classy, Delaware.